Hey y'all, Daniel Aaron here. Guide to Vibrant Living, and very rare for me actually to be speaking to y'all sitting down. Um, I love standing, and despite 20 something years as being a yoga teacher, where we are trained to sit and talk to people, there's a great aliveness in standing. And you've probably heard sitting is the new smoking, right? Our bodies are designed to move. However, and meditation so rules, so powerful, so useful. It's been almost 30 years since my very first spiritual practice, Zen meditation. Um, and I'm more jazzed on it now than ever. And in fact, if you're interested in going further, this is a little primer, a basic, because I've got a few questions lately. Next week, we are going deep into a master class on meditation, and I will put the information down below. You're welcome to join. It's totally free, and it's going to be a blast. And so here's the deal. When I first got into meditation, I had not done any yoga. I just moved to Omega Institute, and it was so cool, this place. And I was a kid, and they were doing all these classes and really fun stuff. And all the classes, people sat on the floor, and I was like, this is so great. And we just get to sit on the floor, and like being like a kid again. Until I sat down on the floor, and I would sit down and be like, oh, this is really good. And then after about 10 seconds, I'd be like, oh, ow, oh. Okay, switch, try sitting like this, and then after, maybe a minute like that, I'm like, oh, ow, my back hurts, and I'd switch over and try and sit like this, and then I'd lay down, and it was like, man, it was like a workout. I had to move so much, and the reason was because I was super stiff. My back and my hamstrings, my sacrum, all of it didn't move, and so I learned some of what I'm going to share with you, how to sit in a way that makes it manageable and sustainable. And for the earliest part of my practice there, I would go to the meditation hall in the mornings, and I would get the highest Zafu. Zafu is the name of a meditation cushion. It was like this high. It was ridiculous. And I would sit on there, and it was the only way I could get, key here, pelvis above the level of the knees. And still for the first long time, I don't know, year at least, I would sit, and after it was just a 30-minute meditation. I say just, for some of us that is a long period, 30 minutes. And I would, after about 10-15 minutes, my legs would go completely numb. And I remember the teacher would ring the bell at the end of class, and and then we would sort of bow and have this moment, and then everybody would get up to leave, and I'd be like, wait for me, help, somebody help me, I can't get up. It would take me like, oh, my legs. So how to do it in a way that's sustainable. And part of the prompt for this recently came with someone saying, well, better to sit on a chair or on the floor. And I'll tell you straight up, the best way to sit for meditation is the way that works for you, the way that you actually do it, that allows you to do it. And so if that's on a chair, if it's on a mile-high Zafu, if it's with supports, awesome. And great to move yourself toward the point where you can sit comfortably on the floor, on a cushion. For various reasons, the simplest I'll say now, I'm going to keep this brief, just give you some of the essentials, is what we would really like is for the spine to be lengthened. And I don't say straight, it's not straight like this. The spine has, 4 natural curves in it, and that's what we want. You could think of, again, oversimplified, think of the spine as an antenna for the divine, for our nervous system. All of it works better when it is lengthened, right? And also because we want to be comfortable enough that we can stay for increasing periods of time, whatever works in your life, in a way that's comfortable enough that allows us to focus on something else. Because here's the thing, if we're meditating and halfway through the meditation, or 5 minutes into the meditation, we're like, oh, and rather than thinking about, there are so many different kinds. You could be focused on your breath, on a mantra, so many things, and I'm going to share a lot more of how we can use meditation for manifestation and also for healing in our lives. And very difficult to focus on any of that if all we can think about is, oh, my back, my back, my back, right? So, how to make it sustainable, right? One, if you're sitting on a chair, cool. Still, it's great to get off the back of the chair. So sit forward, like I learned as a young musician. Sit forward so that you're not resting back like this. Just like meditation doesn't work very well in bed, when we rest back like this, we tend to lose our energy or even fall asleep. So we want to be sitting up off the back of it. If you need a little cushion behind you, that's okay, a little lumbar support. If you need something under your feet, that's okay too. The main thing, let's see how we do with this video situation, let's see what I can show you, is we want to have it so that rather than our back being like this, because if we're stiff, sorry, it's a little chilly morning here in Hawaii, the sweater, rather than this, because if we're sitting back like this, then we're going to get pain here pretty soon. The discs are getting compressed. So instead we want to get like this, where you get this natural curvature in the spine, right? And I so encourage you to do whatever it takes to get that. And you can see, let's see if you can see, right now I'm sitting on just a rolled up cushion, or what do you call that, blanket. Great to have a firm official Zafu kind of cushion. And again, whatever works. The main thing is that when you sit up, you want to get it so that your pelvis, right, the pelvis here is above the knees. Another way of saying it is if the knees are up like this, that again is going to make your background like this. And guys, we are especially prone to this kind of tightness. Very difficult to meditate like this. So sit up as high as you need to, and then once you do that, you can do, of course, you can do full lotus position eventually. It took me years before I could do that. Usually you don't need a cushion if you're in full lotus. And this is a great way to sit, because you sit like this, and people say to me sometimes, like I go to events or classes or just hanging out at dinner, and I love to sit this way, and they're like, what are you, some crazy yogi? And I'm like, well, it's actually, yes, and it's more comfortable to sit this way once the hips get open enough for it. It's not workable to sit for meditation like this if, again, you're like, oh, this really hurts. Right? And great to know that it is a possibility for 99% of the population to eventually sit like this as the hips open gradually and safely over time. For most of us, we will sit in like this kind of position. I think you can see just one leg in front of the other. If lotus was the previous position, this one is what Thich Nhat Hanh calls chrysanthemum position, right? Chrysanthemum, or just easy, right? And again, key is that you get the elevation of the spine. You can think of it like something's pulling you up from that plumb line. And another option is half lotus. So one leg is up like that. And see that little move I just did? Funny, right? That little move is me taking my sit bones and my pelvis and just going like that. And as I tip it that way a little bit, that allows me to get that curve and the lift in my spine. Now, I have been, as I said, very excited lately about meditations, like getting up at 2:30, 3 in the morning, and then meditating for 3 or 4 hours, not out of any discipline, simply out of this feeling like, it's so good. Like, I feel so good in my body. And one of my teachers, Joe Dispenza, recently said how he had a similar process where he would kind of, at first it was dragging himself out of bed, and then eventually the body learned that it just feels so good to get that much light and energy and love flowing through, that even when I wake up, part of me, like part of my conditioning says, oh, I'm tired, it's cold. Yes, even here in Hawaii. And now though, like I wake up and my body says, oh, it's tired, it's cold, and yet it feels so good. Let's get up, let's go, let's do it. I feel like a kid in a candy store with it. So, all right, enough said. Let me review if there are any, see if there are any essential points I haven't shared with you yet. One, best way of meditating, best way of sitting is the one that works for you, the one that you can do sustainably. Also fantastic in meditation to choose a period of time that you know you can commit to, even if it's 3 minutes. Much better 3 minutes I did it than 20 minutes I quit after 10, right? Then, so sitting in such a way that your spine can be lengthened, you got that natural curvature of the lower back, the lumbar spine, and a sense of your spine being elevated and lengthened, right? A little bit of numbness in the legs is okay, you know, to sit for 10 minutes and 5 minutes of the way through your legs go to sleep. That's okay. You know, the worst thing that's going to happen is they'll be up at late at night because they were, you know, asleep during the day, right? No, it's fine. That's part of the hips opening up. So to have a little bit of discomfort with it, that's part of the opening. But if it's so much discomfort, then that's not going to be helpful for you, because then one, you'll be focusing on that, and two, you won't want to do it again. So enough comfort that you can be focused on what you want to focus on. Right? All right, lots more to come on meditation. If you're interested, and I so recommend that you are, because it's one of the greatest aids in life, join me for the webinar next week. Or if you're seeing this later on, thanks for joining the webinar, and I hope that this is useful. I'm Daniel Aaron, and I'm happy to respond to any questions, so feel free to fire away in the comments, and I'll be happy to respond. All right, y'all. Happy meditating.